Cool. Hey Jay, I hope you're well. Congratulations again for hitting P150. That was sick. That was sick. Yeah, how are you? I hope you're well. I hope you're well. Oh, is there someone else on the call? Oh, it's just Jay twice. That's funny. Cool. Yeah, I hope you're well. I just want to start this call by just dropping something in the chat you're grateful for. Like, I'm gonna drop something in the chat I'm grateful for today. Gyms. Yes. Well, gratitude is so important. Like, so yeah, we're gonna talk about self-image today. And to really understand self-image, you need to understand that life evolves around pictures. Like, think of it in this way. If I asked you guys, if I asked you guys your house, what does it look like? You could image that straight away. If I asked you what your car looks like, you can image that straight away. And it's literally just like companies, and they have a corporate image, and the same for individuals. We all have our own self-image, and your self-image is really just the person you believe yourself to be, and your self-image is basically also the person you believe you can become, and all the stuff you can accomplish is basically your self-image. And it's so funny. So literally in school, guys, I did maths in school. Everyone did maths, but yeah, maths in school was like the worst subject for me. I hated it so much. And what I would always say is, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I would hate it so much. And it's funny because when I started trading, it was like, oh, there's so many numbers. Like, what the hell is this maths all over again? It was a fear for me. I didn't want to get involved with it because it was like, yeah, let me stay away from these numbers. And I overcame that fear and actually like walked through it and just said, cool, I'm just going to start to learn. And I realized trading is like way far from maths. It's nothing to even do with maths, to be honest. And it's so crazy because my self-image at the time put me in that state where I wasn't able to push forward because I was still stuck in that same mindset of hating maths. And literally, that's why I'm grateful for today, because honestly, being part of IM has given me so much growth, so much personal growth and mindset growth skills that I can use to help me get further. And it's like, all I had to do is take that one push and move past that fear. And that's why self-image is so important to me, because your true self is really who you want to be. And I saw this quote and it was like, decide what you want. I'll actually type it on the thing. 1 second. You cool. So it was, how do I get her? So it was decide who you want to be. And then it said, decide what you're prepared to give up to get what you want, to get what you want. And the last point was set your mind on it. And that's honestly how I felt with trading as well. Like, I knew I wanted to do it, but I hadn't set my mind on it. And the second I set my mind on it was the second I saw the results in myself. Not even saying I got crazy results in trading, but I went past that fear and I got growth. Like, I growed from it. So, sometimes you need to go through that thing that is kind of scary just for you to grow. And yeah. And also, guys, like, sometimes certain beliefs you have within yourself hold you back. So like I said with the maths, I was basically saying I couldn't do it because I've always said I couldn't do it. And that was a belief that was kind of imprinted inside of me, saying I can't do it. So every time it came along, it was like I would run away from it in a sense. And the thing is, it's always, sometimes you need to think about it in this perspective, that it's not always physical, the thing that is holding you back. Sometimes it is mental, and it is inside that you have to do for you to level up. Like, and sometimes you also need to give up some of the mental things you're going through. Like, for example, you need to give up being doubtful about your goals, your dreams. You need to give up about thinking about your circumstance in a way that is negative, because that's not what you want. And as you all know already, you become what you think about. So it's vitally important that you're not thinking about the things that you want. Like, do you feel me? You wouldn't think about getting a certain car if you didn't want the car, you know? Like, you're going to think about what you want. And the repetition of just thinking about it, even if you don't have it, is imprinting on you. It works the same way as it would if you was thinking about negative things. And that builds up in your self-image. And for me, responding instead of reacting to a circumstance has been so, like, a game changer. Literally, guys, like, it really allows me to assess what I've done before I even react. Because sometimes you notice that there's no need to react to what someone does or what someone says. If you move past that, you're going to feel way much better. Why are you going to stop yourself there, move back and feel in a negative state by thinking about what they said? And just ask yourself, before you respond, react, am I being true to myself? Like, am I doing it because this is what I want? Like, are you going to get an argument if one of your things is not to get in arguments? And just understand, is this like, and understand and ask yourself, is this who I want to be? Do I want to be that person that's always having problems or getting into drama and situations that you don't feel good in? Because every single success for image can block out feelings of doubt and feelings of worry, like just one successful image. So I would recommend always just taking 10 minutes of your day, 5 minutes of your day, just to either be still and be quiet with yourself and just assess how you're feeling and bring yourself at peace every day. And what I learned from the book Psycho-Cybernetics, that talks a lot about self-image, is that you're potentially in control of everything, and you determine what you want to be sad about, what you want to be happy about, because really and truly, it all just is. It isn't happy, it isn't sad, it isn't positive, it isn't negative. It's just things, and we decide what we want those things to, how we want those things to make us feel. For example, someone could be really upset about, I don't know, let's pick the weather, because the weather's been really rubbish, to be honest. Let's pick the weather. So someone could be really upset about, it's been raining, it's not been nice, it's almost summer, where's the sun? But then another person over here could be saying, what, I like this weather. I don't like it when it's sunny, I prefer the cold. And that's really what I learned, and just understanding that we all aren't the same, in a sense where we can decide how we want to react to a situation. And once you understand that, you kind of can understand how to stop and pause and really think, okay, but do I need to react this way? Or how should I react? And yeah, that's really it. So the book really teaches you about success mechanisms, and Imogen's going to go into more detail about that.
Cool, thanks for that, Claudia. So I'm just going to read this bit about what survey mechanisms are, from an extract from Psycho-Cybernetics, because this is the book that me and Claudia have been reading. So yeah, the so-called subconscious mind is not a mind at all, but a goal-striving survey mechanism consisting of the brain and nervous system, which is used and directed by the mind. So the most usable concept is that man does not have two minds, but rather a mind, or a normal consciousness, which operates an automatic goal-striving machine. So basically your servo mechanism is part of your brain that drives you towards your goals. and this is automatic. So it's an automatic goal-striving machine that functions much in the same way like as electronic servo mechanisms. So for example, computers, they operate through like programming, and this kind of like the way your mind is programmed, it kind of comes into a little bit of paradigms as well, and how you can actually change your paradigm through, you know, through working on your servo mechanism. One second. So yeah, we also have a creative mechanism as well. So this actually is impersonal to you, and it will work automatically and impersonally to achieve your goals of success and happiness, or unhappiness and failure, depending on what you feed it. So if you want it to like direct you to your successes, it functions as a success mechanism. But if you're always thinking about the negative, if you're always thinking about like the side that you don't want to happen, like your doubts, then it will operate towards a failure mechanism. So it all depends on what you feed your mind. It all ultimately comes down to like, what are you feeding your mind? Are you actually giving it positive stuff to work with that will take you to where you want to be? Or are you feeding it? Are you feeding it? Yeah, are you feeding your mind the right stuff? So from that, I will go on to explain the different types of servo mechanisms. Let me just gonna share the whiteboard. Sorry, Claudia. Okay, cool. So there's actually two types of servo mechanisms. So you have your first one where the target is known. So the thing that you're like striving towards is actually known. So for example, the example that I chose for this would be like, for example, chairman. Like, you know what you need to do to get there. It's just a matter of trying to get there and actually accomplish it. So for the first type, the target or answer. So yeah, the first one, target, goal, or answer is known. And all you have to do is basically reach it. And then the second one is where your target or like goal or your answer is actually not known, and you're trying to discover it or locate it. So for the second type of servo mechanism, I thought that could be like the whole personal development side, like the spiritual side of what we're doing. And the first one, where you know what you want to do, you know you want to like go for P150, you know you want to go for P600. So you just have to do what you need to do to get there. So that is like more like the physical side. And then when the target is not known, it's kind of like you have to search for it, and you get that answers that you're looking for through like the personal development, through developing the spiritual, all of the spiritual stuff, and obviously like working on yourself. So just want to write the next one down because this is a big one. So for an example for the first one, right? A torpedo accomplishes its goal by going forward, but if it makes an error, it continually corrects them. So keeps going forward. So that's an example of what you kind of need to do within yourself. So you can make errors, like we're going to fail at some point, it's part of the process. But as long as you continue to correct them and direct yourself back onto the course that you want to go, then that's how you're going to get to where you want to be in the end. So yeah, as learning takes place, as you learn from the mistakes that you make, the errors that you make, the correction actually becomes more and more refined. So once this happens and a successful response has been accomplished, this is what's actually remembered for in the future. So for example, if you find a way of prospecting that works for you and they enroll, they get started and they're like having their own success, then you will, like your brain will notice that and it will repeat it. Because obviously when you find something that works, you're going to repeat it. Whereas if something isn't working for you, then you just have to completely forget it. So it says here, the automatic mechanism, which is like the stuff that you can't control, it's just literally how your brain works, right? It then duplicates this successful response for like the future. Like I said, if you find a way that works, you're going to repeat it, like unconsciously at this point. And now that it's learned how to respond successfully, it actually remembers it and it forgets your failures and it just repeats the successful habits. So think of it, let's see if I can draw it out. So think of it as this, right? Let's say you are here, you fail one time. As long as you recognize that you recognize where you are, you can then come back to the original course. You can come back to the original course. So it kind of works like this. So the more kind of like mistakes that you make. So for example, this time you could go a bit too far this side, but that's fine because you can literally come back. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. You can literally come back onto course. So no matter how far you drift out each side, as long as you stay like within the whole path, so like this, the end goal will be at the bottom. Let's use a star for that one. So the end goal will be like down here, and you can take as many you can make as many mistakes as you want, but as long as you recognize them and correct them through, whether that's through like finding new things to think from, doing more personal development, or even just asking your mentor, or just refining your trading a little bit more, as long as you stay within, like basically on, as long as you come back to like the yellow line, for example, you are going to stay on track and you're going to reach your goal eventually. So even if you are like making mistakes, notice them and then find a way to correct them like throughout the whole journey, because that's ultimately what it's all about, right? But yeah, another thing that I want to mention is more about like the server mechanism. So like all together. So let's just use an example of a computer. So a computer can't pose problems to itself because it has no imagination and it can't set goals for itself either. So it can't really determine which goals are worthwhile or which ones aren't because it doesn't have emotions and it can't feel. So it only works on data that is given to it by an operator. So basically it feeds back data and secures it from its own sense organ from like the previous information, so like from its memory. So we as humans, we have access to knowledge, facts, and ideas other than our own memories or other than our own stored information and experience. So we can actually give problem solving or like tasks to like find an idea to our servo mechanisms, and we can literally like send off on a search, like even while you're sleeping, and it can return with the material that you didn't even know you knew, and you might never have actually obtained it through consciously thinking about what you're trying to like think of. So for example, have you ever like maybe forgotten a word for something, and then like 2 or 3 hours later it just pops up in your head? That's one of the examples of like your servo mechanism working in the background, and you can actually use this to your advantage to get you to where you want to be. So this actually occurs because the servo mechanism of your brain has access to a much more expansive storehouse of information than like the conscious mind. So basically the servo mechanism is part of your subconscious mind, and that's how it works. So searching for an idea or an answer to a problem is very similar to searching for a memory or a name you've forgotten, like I just mentioned, right? So you actually know the name or whatever you're thinking about is, you know it's there, otherwise you wouldn't search for it. Like if you didn't know that you knew it, you wouldn't like be thinking about it. So you only search for it because you know it's there. So you can apply this to your goals too. So and your self-image. So even if you're not currently like being the person that you ultimately want to become, you can still think about that person, and then you will become that person because it is within you. It's like it is your own what's the words? It's your own, it's within you. Like it's who you're going to be in the future. Do you know what I mean? So you know it's within you, otherwise you wouldn't be searching for it. So the person that you say you want to become, the qualities you want to give that person, it's already within you. You just have to find it within yourself, and you can use like personal development to help with that. Ultimately it's already within you, otherwise you wouldn't be searching for it. But yeah, when we set out to find a new idea or like the answer to a problem, just assume that it already exists when we are setting out to find it. So by this I mean like you know how people say like speak like a chairman, walk like a chairman, act like a chairman. Do it as if it already exists, because then you will find your answer through assuming that it's already existing. Drop a one in the chat if this is making sense. Okay, cool. Okay, another point, right? You can't just imagine a new self-image unless you feel that it's based on truth. So let's just say, for example, let's just use seeing yourself like as a chairman who wakes up very early, but you currently do not wake up early. So you might think it's a little bit like impossible for you to wake up at that time. That doesn't line up. That is not based on something that you deem to be true in yourself. So that kind of like won't really manifest too much, because you have to believe that the person that you're imagining yourself to be is true to like your values, true to the things that you are ready to do. So yeah, you can't just imagine yourself unless you believe that that person is a true representation of you. So we're going to talk about imagination now. Claudia, do you have anything for imagination?
So yeah, I was gonna just share my screen, Imogen. That's cool.
All right.
Um, What did I do? So everyone was on Akif's call the other day where he showed us the stickman concept drawing. So I'm just going to explain that a bit further. So yeah, bear with me because drawing on this thing is horrible. Cool. So I'm just gonna, Jesus, this is bad. Okay guys, I'm just gonna like do letters to signify what everything means, but give me a second. Okay, so R is results. I'm gonna do a B for body, and then a C for conscious, and a SC for subconscious mind. Cool. Maybe I should use something thinner. So what it really is, guys, is you can change the way. Oh no, 1 second, guys. Let's make this up here. Away. Oh no, what did I do? 1 second, guys. My screen just went back. Ah. Oh, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Is it good?
Yeah, all good now. But yeah, cool. So what happens to us when we're born is, this is just a child. I'll write child at the top. This writing is horrendous, but we move, guys. LD. So that's just a child. And as a child, we have things come into our mind. So we have other people's, opinions. Let me type it. Other people's opinions. That's not how you spell opinions. Oh, that is still cool. Other people's opinions. We have the news coming into our mind. We have environment. So we're not really thinking for ourselves a lot of the time. Like, even if you think about when you're in school, like, you wasn't told you could just daydream. Like, you had to follow what was going on in school. You couldn't really think for yourself in a sense. So your conscious mind was really just closed off. So I'll just do a cross in it. Your conscious mind was just closed off. You were just taking in everything from here that was coming in. And that left your subconscious mind open, for all of this to enter. So for example, maybe if you grew up and you was told, oh, go make sure you're like the other kids, that's exactly what your results became, because it was imprinted in you to say, okay, I should be like the other kids. And because that got impressed on your mind so much, it's what your results became. Because all you need to understand is that your body is really just the instrument of your mind. Your mind is where it happens first. So we was talking with self-image, your self-image is in your subconscious mind. So I'll just do a little heart. This is your self-image. And your conscious mind is just all the ideas that you have. So I'll do a little cloud. So that's all your ideas. And you could have ideas, as I said, from other people and environment. And once you have that in your mind, you think about that constantly because it's what you're constantly being told. And when that impresses on your self-image, it creates your self-image, and it therefore creates what your results will be. So if you've been told all the time, okay, yeah, you go to school, you do well, you go to college, then you go to university, that has been impressed upon your subconscious mind. And therefore, that's exactly what you go and do. And your self-image is really what is best for you. And that can depend on, okay, your environment and what people have told you. That could be your self-image just because it's been impressed so much. It's what you believe, it's your belief. So, and sometimes, like I said before, you have to give up some stuff. to be the person you want to become. And that may be a belief that you had from young, you know. You might have to give that up, and it might be hard because you will have conflict with maybe your family members or even your friends. Maybe you want a different environment with your friendship group, and giving up that friendship group or not seeing that person as much is something you have to decide if that is what you want to give up to become the person you want to be. And it's very hard, like it's not easy. And also with the thoughts and ideas, I'll just go down a bit if I can, or clear. I'll just clear all the drawings. And then with your thoughts and your ideas, draw up again. His head is deformed, but anyway. So is the body. Cool. With your thoughts, it's the same thing, like how Imogen was talking about chairman. Chairman is what you're thinking. That's what you want to become, right? So that's what you're going to imprint in your mind. Maybe you're going to, I don't know, you're going to watch 3 chairmen a day, you know, just for inspo. Maybe that's what you're going to do every day. Maybe you're going to say 3 affirmations every day because that's what chairmen do. Maybe you're going to prospect because you want to obviously build up to become chairman. And once you keep doing that, it's in your conscious mind as an idea, you know, as a cloud in your conscious mind. And you just keep impressing it every day, and it becomes who you are, you know, it becomes your heart. And I love the book, what's it called again? James Allen, what's it called again? As a Man Thinketh. Yeah, I love that book because it always says your body is the manifestation of like the movement. Sorry, mind is movement and body is the manifestation of that movement. And he always says as well, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, because your self-image is in your heart. So what are you really like? What is your burning desire in a sense? When I think of my heart, I think of it as something warm and hot and in a sense fiery, like, because when you believe something in your heart and you get so emotionally involved with the idea, it can feel a bit crazy. Definitely it can feel good and bad at the same time. Like you know you want this and you know what is blocking you from doing it. And sometimes it's crazy because you know what's stopping you, but you don't know how to get from A to B, and that could hurt and that could really like confuse you. And what I usually do is I just accept the fact that I don't know everything, of course, but I know what I want. I know what I'm going after. I know my goals, and that keeps me grounded. That keeps me looking towards my goals, and that essentially will create the results that I want. Like I know it's not going to happen overnight. That's for certain. Like, but I think the overnight thing is just like it will happen one day and it will just be like that, and that's how crazy it is. So you know, we're just waiting for that day. And also to improve your self-image, you need to not allow anyone or any circumstance to hinder like or prevent you from doing it, because you need to be in full control and full understanding of what you want and where you're going towards to really do it. And another thing that does help me be in that calm state and just think of the things I like is a routine. So in the morning I do meditation. In the evening I do meditation, and that's when I feel like I can get most connected with source and to God or whatever you believe in. I can get more connected to him before I go to sleep and when I wake up, because you know the first thing you do in the day really does impact your whole day, and what you do before you go to bed really impacts, you know, your subconscious mind and what you will be thinking while you're sleeping. So I do meditation, I write gratitude, like I really give myself that time that you need to give yourself, you know, almost be a bit selfish with your time and make sure you're giving yourself that time to reflect and to, you know, get connected to source. Because, you know, it's like all the chairmen say, God first, and it's so true. You have to be connected first before you can even connect and help someone else, and that's what you do within yourself. So yeah, that's all about imagination. Imogen, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah. So yeah, this is a quote from the book Psycho-Cybernetics, right? Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. So when you act and you feel certain ways, the way that you act, the way that you feel, is not necessarily in accordance to what is actually happening, but it's what you imagine to be true about what's happening. So this is basically a fundamental law of the mind. So you will always act and perform and experience the appropriate results in accordance with what you imagine to be true about yourself and your environment. So if you imagine yourself to not be able to prospect properly, if you imagine yourself to not be able to like follow confirmations and trade properly, then that will be the results that you keep getting because that's what you believe about yourself. And this is it's not something that you can escape or outperform, because when you try and like do the opposite of what your self-image, when you try to do the opposite of how you see yourself, like subconsciously, you will always be brought back. It's like a rubber band, right? So let's say if you're feeling bad about something, like about you, for example, because you have been told by other people and it's been imprinted into your mind that there is something like wrong with you, maybe like a flaw or something, that is the truth that you now believe to be true about yourself. So that's how you're going to see yourself, not actually for like the reality of it, but for how you perceive it to be. And yeah, so human beings will always act, feel, and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves. So how do you, what are you imagining to be true about yourselves? You can imagine that you're a chairman, and because your nervous system, it cannot tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real one, your nervous system actually reacts appropriately to what you think or imagine to be true. So let's say you're visualizing and you think you're chairman, and you're thinking about how you're going to act, you're thinking about how you're going to feel, you're thinking about what you're going to wear, how you're going to smell, all this type of things, then that in that moment, that's what you perceive to be true about yourself. And because you're imagining it, your nervous system can't tell the difference. So your truth now is that you are a chairman. Like, you are a chairman now. And that's how you're going to see yourself. So how are you actually seeing yourself? And what truths are you telling yourself? Truths are you telling yourself in order to, you know, see yourself where you want to actually be? So yeah, you have certain mental images of yourself, of your world, of the people around you, and you behave as if all of these images were true. Like you behave that the way you see things is actually the reality instead of like what they actually represent. So let's say you feel like someone is you feel like someone doesn't like you. That might not be the reality. That's how you imagine them to think of you. So when you put it like this, right, just kind of like notice and try to like realize when you might be imposing a false truth to yourself about like your environment, about something that people might be doing around you, and ask yourself, like, is this actually true, or is it just me imagining something to be like that? But how you can actually change this is actually to challenge what you believe to be true. I'll type it on the board. Okay, so how does a person change the way they see their self-image. So you have to challenge what you believe to be true. And then discover it's based on an illusion. So discover that it's not actually true. It's based on things that you've been taught, the things that have been ingrained into your mind since you were younger. This is all kind of like under paradigm as well. So yeah, discover it's based on an illusion. And then you have to replace that old truth with another truth. So you can actually change from anything to anything by changing your self-image. Because when you change your self-image, when you change the way you think about yourself and you change the way that you want to be perceived by yourself, you automatically start to become that person. So if you believe and your self-image actually aligns with you having chairman qualities, becoming the person you want to be, you are gonna get to that place. You are gonna become that person because your self-image, it can't be changed other than like through this method. But yeah, all you have to do is provide it with a new truth that aligns you better with like the image of yourself that you want to kind of go towards, and that's how you can actually change your truth. So the things that actually influence your self-image are experiences, vividly imagined or synthetic evidence, and reinforcement from authoritative sources. So these all convince the self-image. So imagine if you're like a little kid and your parent says a comment or something, that would count as an authoritative source. And if they like repeat that throughout your childhood, that's what you're gonna be brought up to believe. So if they like maybe say something negative, or teachers too, if teachers maybe like, for example, say let's just say the teacher calls you stupid over and over again, as you hear it more, that's going to become how you see yourself and your self-image, because as an authoritative source, embedding that on you by repetition, which is one of the things that changes your paradigm, then that is what's going to create itself into your own self-image as well. But through vividly imagined and sometimes experienced too, that's how you can also change it. So that's something, so imagination is something that affects self-image, but that's also good because that means you can actually change it through imagination and providing things with new truth. So the way it actually works is it relays the appropriate new directions or like truths to your servo mechanism, and therefore a new truth exists and a new reality or how you see the world is created. It also says here that mental pictures offer an opportunity to practice new traits and attitudes which we otherwise could not do. So for this, with like mental pictures, think about your goals, think about what you're working towards. Like it says here, even a single, simple, vividly imagined picture of a successful achievement can be sufficient to block out doubts, fears, insecurities, and worries, and it directs the success mechanism back to the desired target. And this is essentially what you're doing when you're visualizing. So when you actually see something clearly in your mind, your creative success mechanism, it takes over and it literally goes towards it. Much better than you could with like conscious willpower. So just let your creative success mechanism take over. let that just do its thing in the background. It doesn't require your effort. And this is a good way to like strive towards it kind of subconsciously without like having like a mental conflict with yourself with when you want to do one thing but you can't see yourself doing it because you're picturing yourself doing something else. So for example, if you're trying to, let's say, let's just use discipline for an example. If you're trying to be disciplined but your self-image is ingrained that you're not a disciplined person, then you won't necessarily be able to enforce discipline on yourself for long before the elastic band comes back. You spring back to the person that your self-image tells you to be. So yeah, letting your creative success mechanism through like visualization get you to where you want to be in the background, and it basically works in the background without you having to think about it. So through visualizing, you are ingraining a new reality that you want to achieve into your subconscious. Yeah, our own actions, feelings, and behaviors are actually the result of our own images and beliefs. So the experiences we've had, the images we've seen, the beliefs we have, they all influence our actions, feelings, and behaviors. The same creative mechanism within you can actually help you achieve your best possible self if you form a picture in your mind and form a picture in your imagination of the self that you want to be and see yourself there. So you know how a lot of the leaders, they literally tell you this. They literally say, see yourself as if you're already there. Like walk as if you're already chairman. Speak like you're already chairman, act like you're already chairman. All of these things. This is essentially what they by them saying that, this is essentially the whole like nitty-gritty of how to actually do that. But yeah, through seeing yourself in this new person that you want to be, it's actually necessary to transform. It's actually used to help people like transform their personalities regardless of different types of therapy used. So this method is actually used in quite a lot of different therapies. But in order to change, you have to see yourself in that new role before you can actually change. So yeah. Anyone's got any questions? Type them in the chat. I hope that made sense. But yeah, Claudia, do you have anything else to add?
Just to add to your point, when you was like, it's like a kind of like a spring back effect. I was kind of thinking about, you know, the temperature in your room, in your house. When you open the door, obviously it gets colder. The temperature will probably go down, but the second you close the door, the temperature goes right back up, and it's the same thing. It's a spring effect. You've put it at 80. It's working towards being to 80, but once the door's open, you know, it goes down to 70 or whatever, and then the door's closed, the heat's being kept in, so it goes back up. And it's just the same with the self-image, you know, it's always going towards that same goal, but once you can fall off track, but then it always spring back. So, you know, just be very when you're forming your picture, just know what you want and what you want to become, and be sure of it, and you know, it's done. That's all really.
Yeah, another thing I just thought of is when it was actually from that Your Wish Is Your Command audio, and he was like, when you experience something that doesn't work out for you or that you didn't want to happen, you can actually use that as an opportunity to figure out what you do want, because now that you've been through that, you've realized that you know now that that is what you don't want. So now you can focus more on what you do want to happen. And by doing that, you're gonna like that was the mistake you made, and now by realizing that that's now what you don't want, so you're not gonna focus on it. You actually stay yourself back onto course. Yeah, that was a little lesson on self-image.
Yep. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for jumping on.